Good afternoon. Hope everyone's re-event is going as well as ours. I'm very excited to spend the next 19 minutes with all of you. So my name is Jared Summers. I'm the CTO at LMI. For those that don't know LMI, we're a next generation solutions and products provider to the federal government. And so over the next few moments, I'm going to talk to you about what really makes LMI special and what enables us to move incredibly quickly for our customers, blending COTS solutions with the federal security requirements, so we're ready on day one for their mission. And so I think the exciting thing is the administration and the change that has been occurring in the federal space over the last 12 to 18 months. There's been a strong demand for COTS solutions. And why? And that's because the federal government has realized that there's a ton of technology available out in the market that if they could get it securely and in the right format, they could leverage the investment, the broader investment outside of the federal space to provide the capabilities to their customers, their individuals even faster. And so what they want to do is to leverage the innovation and the investment made in the commercial space on the federal side. And so when you think about COTS, it's really easy to move fast and to innovate when you don't have a lot of the security requirements that we have on the federal side. So for those that operate in the federal market space, there's a ton of acronyms, whether it's CMMC, FedRAMP, ATO, NIST, and et cetera, and the list goes on. And so how do you bridge and merge the speed and the innovation while still delivering securely? And that's what we're going to talk about for the next few minutes. And so first a little bit about LMI. So LMI has actually been around for 65 years. So we're not a tech native new company. However, over the last 3 years, we've changed really the focus on our delivery to leverage the business model we're going to talk about here. So we've pivoted away from services to solutions and products driven by our IP, and the investments that we've made over the last 3 years of hundreds of millions of dollars to buy companies and integrate them in a secure way, so we show up on day one with mission-ready tech that our customers can use out in the field. So how do you actually bring and merge the innovation and everything that the customers want with the security requirements that our customers have? And so I've got 3 examples that I'm going to walk through here pretty quickly. So the first is a lot of problems and challenges have been solved in the commercial side for decades. When we think about IoT enablement, when we think about tracking inventory, when we think about understanding where are our assets, where are things in transit, I think across those 3 use cases, we're all thinking of companies that do this incredibly well. This technology is not new. Amazon does this incredibly well in their warehouses. However, there's still the security side when you think of federal customers, particularly in the DoD, DHS, and a lot of the other mission units, where they don't really want that data exposed everywhere. So what do? So this morning we announced Spectre, which is our commercial solution that actually solves this problem. And what we've done is we've acquired the commercial tech and we've hardened it within our reusable platforms, and we'll talk about in a moment, that we show up on day one with all of the infrastructure, the hardware, the data transport, and the analytics that are all secured by design, ready on day one. So we can deploy to our customers immediately, and they start to see the value on day one. And so it's really exciting. The second is adapt and deploy in accredited environments. So it's very difficult to show up to a government customer when it's pure straight COTS. So if you don't understand the rules of the game, back to the acronym soup that we talked about a few moments ago, and you don't know the baseline that you're building for, it's incredibly hard for your solutions to get into the target environments. So what we've done internally through extensive R&D funding is we've built and accredited our own platform that is to FedRAMP High and to IL5 standards. So everything that we build internally, all of our solutions, all of our capabilities from day one are built to the security baselines that our customers need. And so what that really means is when we align on a solution that we have that our customer needs, when we show up on game day, on day one, the containers and the applications that we bring pass through all of their security checks with a clean bill of health so that we can deploy quickly. So we can either bring our own environment that we have accredited, or we can deploy in their target environment. And so our internal environment's called Iron Sled. And so we use that to build all of our internal capabilities. A great example, there was a customer that we saw a use case that was not being met. We took that information back internally and started to build an application to solve that particular problem. Leveraging all of our secure hardened containers and our pipelines and our code repositories, we were able to turn an MVP, which is actual functioning application containerized, and show it to the customer in 72 hours. Get their feedback. Because what we all know is customers really don't know what they want until they experience it, until they can actually interact with something that's real and be like, this solves my problem, or actually no, I needed to do this. And so we could take that 72-hour turn, get that customer feedback, make the improvements and the changes, and then show up a week later with even a more robust application. And so we were able to go from idea to first concept in 72 hours, to come back fully incorporating their first round of feedback in weeks. And now that is live in a customer environment, being used for exercises actually this week as we're here, which is incredibly exciting. The next is extract core components for reusability and repeatability. And so on the commercial side, they're really good about not recreating the wheel every time. And so what that really means is when you're building your applications, when you're building your capability, built with modularity and reusability in mind. So a great example for us is a platform called Raptor. So Raptor has been in use for over a decade, by starting with the Space Force, to solve really hard modeling and simulation challenges. But the way that it was architected was a toolkit of different solutions and capabilities that we could put together in a modular way to solve a variety of different customer challenges. And so that means it can not only solve very bespoke, incredibly challenging space-based comms network solutions, but it can also be used to optimize for asset availability across a very diverse landscape like Indo-PACOM, for example. It can be used to solve very challenging problems around medical logistics and the like. Because each of the components themselves are reusable and modular, that we can bring the right components to solve the problem, iterate with the customer in near real time, and then be able to provide that solution that they can use. And so the investments that we've made and the strategy that we've taken has enabled us to take all of the great things that the government wants to leverage from a COTS perspective and marry that with the requirements that are just necessary, that are part of doing the business within the federal government. And so to be great partners, and what they are really looking for is they're looking for companies that have demonstrated the behaviors of co-investing. So when you think about the capabilities that we use in our daily lives, we did not, like applications on our phone, for example, we did not pay for a company to build that application and then we wait 18, 24 months, 3 to 5 years. But unfortunately, historically, that has how software delivery and capability has been in the federal government. And it's just not the right answer. The right answer is demonstrating the right partnership attributes, co-investing, and showing up on day one with capabilities that they can use, that are modular, that are reusable, but at the same time are built to the incredibly important security standards that you need to deploy in the environments, given sometimes the risks that are associated with the missions in which the technology will be used. And so, when you think about that, really that's COTS done right. And when you do that right, you build a tremendous amount of trust with your customers, where when you show up and you're demonstrating those right behaviors, and when you show up and you can actually deploy your capability, and your tools pass their security scans cleanly, it builds a tremendous amount of trust that enables a whole additional conversation on, well, what else can you do? well, what else can you bring? And this has worked really well for LMI. And so over the last few years, taking this approach to our customers has allowed us to grow by 68% CAGR. I mean, that's incredible. For a 65-year-old legacy company who's been able to transform itself into a solutions and products and to experience that type of growth is nothing short of amazing. And that's because of the model that we're here talking about today and what we've been able to do. So success really it's not about skipping customization, because when you think about it, what they want from COTS is the speed and the capability. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be customized. And I think that gets lost in the conversation. Because for a lot of our customers, and probably a lot of your customers as well, there are some direct dual use applications when it comes to some of the back-end processes, whether that's HR, processing, everything else. But when you're talking about mission-focused, mission-forward applications, whether that's for CBP, whether that's for the Department of Army, whether that's for Space Force, whether it's for the Postal Service, the challenges and the scale at which they face does require customization. And so I think it's really important for all of us in the narrative, in the conversation. COTS does not mean that there isn't customization to actually solve the use case. But what COTS really means, back to behaviors, is that we're showing up on day one with secure solutions, and we're investing ahead of need to actually solve their problems. And so it's really achieved by the balance of the innovation and the speed, but bringing the investment in the behaviors and the security necessary to deploy. And so with that, actually, it's kind of all I have to say. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody? Nobody? No questions? I can keep talking if you want. What's that? Keep talking. All right. Let's go back one then. I'll give more examples. So I think, let's go back to Spectre a little bit. So that was the first one I talked about, solving in-transit visibility, asset availability, and really, solving the problem like, where are my things and how many things do I have? And so the announcement that we made this morning was around, we went out and acquired IP surrounding this. So now the entire tech stack, from tags to edge compute to transport, all the way up through the edge data cloud, edge to cloud and enterprise, is all integrated in one solution. And so when you think about also COTS, something that we're seeing from our customers, that you're probably seeing from yours as well, is they're looking for those integrated solutions that they can buy commercially that solve the problem at speed. And so the investments that we made and announced this morning, that we successfully demonstrated both at a very large use case for the Army and for the Navy, enable us to move even faster. And so back to being a good partner, we have gone off and invested our own money to de-risk that delivery, because now we control the entire stack. So instead of relying on other third-party providers, whether it be for hardware or for transport, now they have one integrated solution that is secure end-to-end. And so that enables us to move with speed, but then also to come with the commercial business model. So now they can buy as a service. So that's something else that you're probably getting from your customers is, I see on the commercial side, I can buy as a service. And so what does that mean? And so what that really means, and what we've found they're asking for, and I'd love to validate with all of you, is instead of just buying a thing, they want to buy outcomes and capabilities based upon SLAs. And that's exactly when you think about when you're buying commercial tech to support your own development, that's exactly what you're buying. It's what are the SLAs that I am paying for that you are signing up to deliver that capability. All right, now we got a question. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So the Navy project, the Navy has an opportunity to increase throughput at all of the naval shipyards. And so, a big part of that is they are incredibly large, areas, if you've ever been to a naval shipyard. Same use case, so I came from oil and gas. If you've ever been on a refinery or a chemical plant, the exact same thing. Very disparate, very large, But at the same time, it's very complex because as you're breaking down a Navy vessel, there's all these pieces, parts, and components that have to go off for repair or for overhaul or that you're replacing. But then where do they go? How do you track them? And some of those pieces and components are incredibly important because they deal with nuclear propulsion. And so if you lose one of those, and by lose I mean just misplace, that shuts down the entire yard until it's found. So you could lose a day or two of productivity from absolutely everyone in the yard looking for that piece, part, or component. And so what our solution does is it tracks and provides that asset visibility across the entire life cycle from the time it's taken off all the way through the repair, the overhaul, the replacement, but then all the way to the time it gets back, because now that data plugs in and goes into all of their scheduling and planning. Because how often, if you know anything about shipyards, if you know about any manufacturing, how often is something scheduled to be installed, but you don't have the right part, or they scheduled it out of order, so you put a larger component and left the two or three things behind it. Now you got to go rip something else out to put it back in. And so not only do you have time savings from efficiency to where everything is, and so you're not double, triple, quadruple ordering things. You know where it is, you know when it's ready, so then you're also scheduling the right crews at the right time to go reinstall the parts in the right order. And so the entire process there is about enabling the Navy to turn ships at the organic shipyards faster, more efficient, at a lower cost. And so that's what Spectre is doing for the Navy, and it's been incredibly exciting. So I think we talk about more of that in the press release. If you'd like to know more, lmisolutions.com. We talk about that and the Army example as well, and that is solving the problem when you think about Army depots. They're resource constraints. They have a ton of assets. So where are those assets? And so we partnered with them to answer that problem. Where are the assets? What condition are they in? What components are on that larger asset? So we have parent-child relationships. Different capabilities and tags for different specificity, and that enables them for the exact same use case. I need to go find a transmission for an AMP V, in this configuration. Exactly where is it? Instead of driving around 230 acres trying to find the right vehicle at the right time. And so that drives that efficiency. Did I do that? I didn't do that. Anyway, great question. Thank you. And so really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about LMI, who we are. I think the exciting journey that we've been on for the last 3 years, I think really shows and should give excitement and encouragement. Like, this is possible. You can do this. And we're happy to talk more about what we do and how we do it. We're over at booth 491, which is straight down this hallway to my right, your left. And we'll have people there all week that we love talking about the capabilities that we have. We partner well with others. We pride ourselves on actually being a good partner. And so if that's something you're interested in, please stop by and talk to us. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.